Hey there, and welcome to Table to Stage. I'm Jordan Worma, and this is my podcast, my continuing mission to explore creativity through the stories and experiences of creators from all disciplines. Today's creator is Andrew Wallach. He's an East Hampton, Connecticut-based artist and the creative force behind Spinning Head Studio. But don't call it spin art. Andrew calls his work revolution art, and he welcomed me into his home studio to discuss everything from his process, the impact that music has on his art, and much more. Andrew has a showing throughout July at Sacrosanct Gallery of Contemporary American Art in East Hampton. So if you're in the area and you want an up-close and personal look at his revolution, definitely stop in. As always, please be sure to share the show with those you know who might find these conversations interesting. And don't forget to leave a rating and a review of the show on your favorite podcast app, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, wherever you listen. If you have a comment or a question, you can email me directly at tabletostage@gmail.com. Okay, let's get to the revolution with artist Andrew Wallach.
I am Connecticut born and raised.
Okay.
East Haven.
All right. What was that like growing up there?
Well, I was the only kid on the block that our mailbox did not end in a vowel. You know, very Italian. Ate a lot of good food at friends' homes, and it was good. I was a troublemaker. I was a delinquent. So if there's anybody remembers something that's missing from their home, it's probably me.
Do you have like a lost and found section waiting for people to come pick everything up? So when you were a kid, were you surrounded by creativity in the arts, or is it something that you kind of found on your own? Yeah,
no, I found it through my mom, my mother. You know, rainy days, snowy days, days off from school. She always had us, or me, doing crafts, clay, drawing, watercolor, all kinds of art. You know, as my two brothers were into the sports, my dad was a award-winning soccer coach, and so I was, the art child,
the black sheep of the family there, right?
Exactly.
Oh, of course, the tattoo, the match.
Yes.
Yeah. So what was the first creative outlet that you felt drawn to without your mother's, putting some watercolors in front of you and saying, "Here's your project for the day"?
Well,
what did you seek out on your own?
One of the earliest memories I have is doing a drawing on my own. And the next thing you know, my parents submitted it to some place.
Oh. And
the next thing I knew, we went to this, I think it was a bank in town that had an art exhibit. And
like local kids?
Yeah, stuff? Local kids, even, I don't know, maybe older teens. And we show up, and there's my drawing on the wall. And it has a ribbon on it. And people are coming up to me, patting me on the shoulder. And
you didn't know you were going to the bank to see this?
As far as right now, I don't remember. I don't remember. I just remember being there, and just people, eating the cheese and crackers and drinking wine or water, whatever.
That's a fancy bank.
Yeah. It was. I mean, it was after hours, but
yeah.
And I remember it, and I remember it because I go visit my parents, once a month or so, and I drive past that bank, and I'm like, wow, that's where it all started.
Do you remember the picture?
No.
You don't? Okay.
No, I do not remember. I don't know.
Yeah. So drawing was the first thing that you did on your own then?
Yeah. I was always drawing.
Yeah.
I mean, my birthday and Christmas, my parents would get me a giant drawing pad, and I'd fill it up, and by my birthday I'd get another one, and by Christmas I'd get just constantly.
Yeah.
Where are they now? Who knows?
What kind of stuff were you drawing? Like what did you draw when you had just time on your own to doodle and create? What kind of stuff were you putting down on that paper?
Well, early on it was mostly graphic art, like just abstract graphic art, and I just remember trying to come up with ideas, and just draw these. My mom always thought, oh, you're incredible. You're gonna be a graphic designer. You're gonna go places. And then I think in high school it got to, I really wanted people to look at my drawings and be like taken back, like shocked. I wanted a shock value.
Yeah.
So I would draw the most gruesome things. I would draw bizarre things. So almost like a Salvador Dali type. Just I wanted people to be completely shocked.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, that I think is pretty typical of high school kids who are drawn to art. They want to kind of set themselves apart and make sure that the adults are saying, no, you can't do that or whatever.
Well, here, listen to this one.
Okay.
This is one of my favorite stories. And I don't know if the ladies might ever hear this, but I would go to the school psychiatrist once a week, I think. I have no idea why.
We'll find out, I'm sure, during this conversation.
And she said, "Hey, you're an artist. Can you draw me a picture for my office?" And I'm like, I'm the delinquent. I'm the punk. Yeah, I'll draw you a picture, lady. So I drew this picture of this rocker person, this rock star looking guy, and he had a blazer on over a T-shirt. And on the T-shirt, I made it so it said, "Fuck you." But you can only see certain letters.
Right.
And I gave it...
Ucko, probably, right?
Yeah. Well, I gave it to her. She loved it. She put it up on her wall. A couple days later, I get called back to her office. I'm like, I thought it was supposed to be once a week. So she sits me down. She said, "Can you tell me, what does it say on his shirt?" I'm like, oh, crap. I got to explain this? Oh, man. Yeah. I can't tell her. So I'm looking at it, and I'm studying it, and I'm nervous. It's like 1 minute it felt like an hour. And I looked at it, and I thought, it says, "You're you," except the U is upside down. And she's like, oh, right. Oh, and I was like, "What did you think it said?" And she's, "Oh, no, I just didn't know. I didn't." But, man, I got away with that one.
Yeah. But. Wow. So what was your next step for you? Did you continue to want to shock people with your art?
Oh, yeah.
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 How did you take that through high school, and what was the next step?
Well, I got accepted to ECA, the Educational Center for the Arts in New Haven. And basically because I think one student either dropped out or got expelled, so they had an opening, and so I got in, and which was good because the senior year in high school, 2 of my classes I had to pick was computers and drafting, and I know nothing about computers. All I know is inches and quarter inches on a ruler. So I got into ECA, and from there, a lot of the projects were, everyone did the same. And I just couldn't wait to get out and do my own thing. And one of the things that I did on my own that was a little shocking was a sculpture of almost like not anti-war, but just to show that this, war, just there's bloodshed on both sides.
Right.
And that I wished that it would stop. So it was kind of a shocking sculpture. It was just chicken wire and that plaster cast,
paper mache kind of stuff.
Yeah, something like that.
Now, what was it about that medium that appealed to you to create that image, that story with it? Was it something about sculpture itself that called to you, or was that was just the project? Yeah, no, I
thought that would be the easiest way to go.
Okay.
I mean, I got there, I got the assignment, and I'm like, I don't know, what am I going to do? And I don't know, I just started playing with the chicken wire, and oh, look, a leg, and here's another leg, and I'll make a person out of this, and I'll make him like he's ghastly, and he's like crying out to the world type of thing.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, it really worked, and I just went with it.
Did you find that the experience at that school was valuable artistically?
Well, sort of.
Okay.
I was with my peers. I was with other artists. and I learned from them.
And so 16, 17, something like that?
About 18, maybe 18. And, but what happened, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead or not, but what happened was because of ECA and the grades I got, A's across the board, my parents are talking about art college.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, sweet, cool.
Is that a door that you expected would open for you at some point?
Absolutely not.
No, okay.
No. And so I went to art school. I went with my dad to show my portfolio. But something odd, we went in with my portfolio, and they never even wanted to look at it.
Really?
And I thought, and they accepted me.
Without looking at the portfolio?
Well, yeah. And I soon thought, wow, it's all about the money.
Yeah.
They don't. They just. I'm just more money for them.
Right.
So I went to arts college, but soon found out. Well, to back up, in my mother's eyes, I was the greatest artist in the world.
Right.
But then when I went to art college, I soon found out that I am definitely not the greatest artist in the world.
Was it just like what's the phrase? A small fish in a big pond all of a sudden? Or?
Well, not so much that. It's just that my work quality did not compare to my fellow students.
Now, is that an objective assessment, or is that because you're so closely tied to the stuff that you're doing?
No. I definitely my work was absolutely mediocre to theirs.
Yeah.
I mean, to anyone else in the world who can barely draw a stick figure, I might be the greatest. But there's some I saw. I'm like, I could never do what they were doing.
Were you able to, like, as soon as you got there, were you able to identify, like, qualitative differences in the work that your peers were doing as opposed to what you were doing?
Yeah, because our first assignments, though they were the same, they were just draw these lines and color in the lines with color values and whatnot. I didn't know what the guy was talking about I didn't know what a color I'm like, I don't know how to mix paints. And they're just mixing them up and boom, done. And they're amazing, just what they wanted. I was getting an F, I was getting D's, and I think the more abstract assignments I got, I could just kind of do my own thing. But I did this one drawing. It was a cubism thing.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was just because they thought it was anti-religion or if the teacher was very religious, but they thought I was shaming. But it was the crucifixion, and I did it in cubism.
Yeah,
I wasn't doing anything against religion. It was just that I chose the crucifixion, the Jesus on the cross, and cubed it.
Right.
And I got an F on it.
Huh.
And I'm like, why? I don't get it. But so I just said, you know what? This is not for me.
Yeah. So what was the result of that time in art school?
Well,
I mean, did it drive you forward as an artist?
No.
Did it push you away from?
Yeah, pushed me way back. I didn't want to touch anything to do with art ever again.
Really?
I'm like, again, I said, I thought I was good. I was a mediocre artist. I can draw a better stick figure than the average person, but it wasn't my.
See, I feel like art school, like even if you take somebody with a rudimentary skill, like you should be building up on that and sort of, that's what the school's for, right?
Yeah.
You take the building blocks and you continue building until you get to the next step.
I think if I stuck with it, yes.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that.
Right.
I just didn't, I didn't like the, I don't know what the term is, but they were, the everyone doing the same thing.
Sure.
But I didn't understand that there was a reason for that. So if I saw some kids, if I can talk to some kids who are going into art college or are enjoying art in high school, I'm like, just learn.
Right.
Learn, and then you go off on your own.
Right.
Do your own thing.
Learn all the basics first.
Yes.
Learn by rote, and then ignore it all once you're
right.
done.
Exactly. But I just didn't have the time for that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't get it.
Did you feel an urgency to get your own stuff?
Yeah.
Was that kind of...
Oh,
it
yeah.
seems like that might have been part of it.
Yeah, I would go into my dorm room. Luckily, I had a single, and I would do all these crazy, bizarre head trip drawings, and people would come by, and there would be a line at my door to come see what I'm working on.
Right.
And they'd be, oh, wow. And, they'd go, oh, can I buy that? I want that. I want that. And I'd be just selling these drawings that had nothing to do with, my assignments at school.
Right.
It was just my own thing.
So the school kind of beat that urgency out of you almost?
Yeah. But again, I didn't understand why. If I known why, and if I known, just go with the flow, do what they tell you, you'll learn a lot.
Right.
And then you go off on your own. But
right.
I didn't. After the first half of the semester of the first year, I just stopped going to class.
This freshman year.
Yeah. I just started, got into some other strange stuff, and didn't realize I should have just went home. I could have saved my parents a lot of money. But I was known as, I had a nickname on campus, but we won't get into that.
Okay.
But I just wreaked havoc on campus for the last year, and then went home.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was your next foray as a creator, as an artist? Was it something that you were learning in school, or was it a new project entirely?
It was actually something I learned in life. I moved into New Haven with some architects, and they got me involved in the local music scene.
Oh, okay.
And
it's always been pretty robust down there too.
Yeah. Oh, it was flourishing. They had a very narrow mind when it came to styles of music, but I loved everything. So I just, I would go out on my own, and, they would only go see a few certain bands. I'd go and see everything from rap to country to punk to new wave to, R&B, blues, and whatnot.
Sure.
And I was going out 5-6 nights a week, and I bought a camera to capture the new friends that I've made, and, and take pictures of some of the bands playing the music, playing the instruments, and that just led to photographing musicians. For many years.
So did you find that photography was something that came naturally to you, or was there a big learning curve? I mean, this is 90s we're talking about?
95, I moved into, it was around 96 that I got the camera.
Yeah, so we're talking film and darkrooms and stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
So was it something that you picked up easily, or did you have to struggle to get through all that?
Well, it was, like I do now, I've learned by trial and error, reading books.
Trial and error is expensive with film.
Yes. Oh, believe me, I know that. Woo. I went and bought every how-to book on photography, of all different types of photography, and I got it. I figured it out, photographing musicians.
Yeah.
And I was then a sought-after photographer for all these bands, and they just came to me with live photos.
Was there something about your photographic eye that you think made concert photography something that you were good at?
I think so.
The lighting can be very tricky in a situation like that.
Yeah. And the challenge was amazing. I just thrived on that challenge. And I photographed them because I've always bought records on some of the photos that,
the cover album.
Right.
Cover art.
That's how I would buy it. And I would photograph these musicians as if how I felt I would want to be photographed if I was a musician.
Okay.
So I would frame them and think, just live vicariously through them.
Right.
And I think that's how I got some incredible images.
Yeah.
And they loved them.
Has music been something that's been like a constant part of your life? That
Yeah.
Always drawn to?
Yeah. I think to talk about that, early on, I was listening to Neil Diamond, Barry Manilow, anything in my mother's record collection. And then I found my aunt's record collection, which had...
This is your mom's sister?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. It had a band called the Rolling Stones, Get Your Yayas Out. And I listened to that.
So your mom and her sister, very dissimilar.
Yes. And man, the Rolling Stones. What? Well, from then, now our babysitter... She couldn't work one evening, so her brother came over and babysat. And he's like, hey, I heard you like music. You know, I'm going to come over to our house, which was across the street, and listen to some music.
Yeah.
So I did. And he put on something called Led Zeppelin 3 and Van Halen 1. And I don't know if they can hear this on the radio, but
yeah, right.
mind blown.
Yeah.
And
a little bit of face melting. And,
yes, my jaw hit the ground. I could not get enough of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, just music, it was always been a part of my life.
So when you started photographing all the bands and stuff, did you feel like that was sort of an extension of something that had been present in your life already?
I think I always wanted to be a rock star, but
yeah.
I couldn't do the guitar thing.
Right.
I couldn't do the sing. Of course, my voice, I just couldn't do it. So
I always wanted to be a rock star too, and it was that pesky rehearsing and practicing. Just nobody's got time for that.
Oh, see, I wouldn't mind that as long as I was doing it, but it's just I just couldn't get it.
Yeah.
I couldn't get the science and the math of the guitar,
right.
or the keys, the
theory is what bogged me down.
Yeah.
I can't follow it.
So I lived vicariously through the music, the musicians in my life.
Yeah.
I can't go, like right now, it's like I can't wait till this is over because I can listen to some music. No, I'm just kidding.
In terms of, I'll back up a bit. How long were you, a working photographer? How long did you do that before you decided, I want to move on to another project? Because you're not doing photography anymore, right?
No. I did photography from 96 to 2000 amateurly,
mm-hmm.
and then I went professional in 2000. And I won't get into how that occurred, but found I was a professional photographer, and I was doing weddings and dogs and kids and even bands, but getting paid really well for it. And then I had just switched over. My wife and I got in a small inheritance, so we decided to change over to digital photography.
Oh, okay.
And we always knew that if we're going to do digital, we need the highest quality equipment. So we did,
yeah, especially when digital cameras were first coming out.
This was in 2007.
Yeah.
So I dropped a lot of coin on, or we dropped a lot of coin on some great equipment,
mm-hmm.
and soon after, I noticed the phone stopped ringing.
Yeah.
And the camera just sat in the closet for 2010 to 2012. I think I did maybe 2 photo gigs in those 2 years.
Yeah.
But every day I was at my day job, I would be like, I need to create something. I need to make something. I need to make something that other people would want to buy,
right?
Purchase from me. I need to create something. And I think we were up in Brattleboro, Vermont, and we went into this store. It had all this kind of artsy stuff, and there was some like mat board with a type of art on it that I remember when I was a child.
Yeah.
It's something called spin art.
Okay.
And it's like, wow, look at that. It's a little 8x10, and it looked like they drizzled some on a revolving screen and then on a snowboard. And I was like, oh, look at that. And then I asked about the artwork, and they said it was just some old guy, some local guy in town. He drops it off, and nothing. It doesn't sell, but he drops it off. And I was like, oh, didn't think anything else of it.
Right.
But then just back at work, just thinking, what could I do to I thought of making giant wood cutouts of guitars and painting them and relicking them, and putting coat hangers up the neck. People would buy those. They could hang them in their house, and they could hang their coats on them. I was thinking maybe I can make dream catchers.
Yeah, nobody's doing that.
Yeah, I know. So I don't know. And then it dawned on me what I wanted to do.
So what was that first experience like? Because, I mean, you've already said the evil word I was told not to say when I got here, but the spin art thing.
Yeah.
Which is not what you do, right?
Right,
I mean,
right.
you've taken it sort of to a few evolutions beyond something like that. First of all, what is it that you do, and how did you develop that style?
Wow. Well, when it came to me, I called a friend of mine, an artist. I said, because I knew the overhead, costs, for paints and canvas and is expensive. So I asked him, I said, hey, can I use house paint on canvas? I said, yeah, sure. Everyone has house paint they don't want.
Right.
So I put the call.
I have some right now.
I put the call out. People came and dropped off buckets of it.
Yeah.
A lot of light blues and tans, but I worked with what I had.
A lot of neutral colors.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I said, all right, I got to build a base. I got to build a table that will revolve on a pivot. And I'm like, how do I do that? I need to buy wood and nails, and this is going to take a long time. But I found out that I have this wood base in our garage, this crate. I said, that'll be the base. And then I was sitting out by the fire pit, and I saw our picnic table. I was like, that metal mesh top has a hole in the center for the umbrella. And so I unscrewed that and took the table in. I got some pipe and some flanges, and I was like a mad scientist. And I remember the day my wife would have her mom over to watch a show, and it was raining out this one night. I'm in the garage trying to build this thing. And I went upstairs for a drink, and they said, hey, do you want to watch the show with us? I said, no, I'm working on something. And I rubbed my hands together. and lo and behold, a lightning bolt just came crashing down outside the bay window. And,
it's alive.
Yes. And I said, I'm working on something. And I ran back. And I think it was the next day, my wife was coming home from work. And I had done one already. And I thought the paint was going to go all over the place.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the thick paint that I was using didn't do that. It was more of a Jackson Pollock, but in circular form. And my wife pulled in, and I said, you got to see this. Come here. You have to see this. So she gets out of the car. I said, watch this. And I put the canvas on the table, and I gave it a whirl, and I just started drizzling the paint on, and she was like wide-eyed with excitement. And I'm like, just when I saw that, because I'm thinking, here we go, another, money-wasting experiment.
Yeah.
But she was excited about it from day one, and she has been. But those two paintings I did were just not what I expected, and it took a few more paintings until I figured it out, to thin the paint out, and it just exploded from there.
What about the process of actually, I'm going to say the word again, spinning the canvas?
Yeah.
What was it about that attracted you to that medium, that method of paint?
Oh, yeah. I took the idea of spin art, and I wanted to do that, but completely change it.
Yeah.
I wanted to show people that, because I don't know, I just wanted to do something different, but in that same fashion, that revolving easel, and just throwing paint on and controlling it, and instead of just spin art, you just throw some paint on, and when you're done, you're done. Is
spin art really the canvas is spinning,
and
you just throw paint onto it, and whatever happens?
Basically, yes.
So how is what you're doing different from that? Can you describe the method a little bit?
Yeah, right away I went about to go a different direction, and make it not look like spin art, and that I don't know, just came easy to me. I was experimenting, and with brushes and controlling it, and using different chemicals, like mixing house paint with acrylic paints.
Yeah.
And mixing, I don't know, different, like using water, using alcohol, using just, I don't know, techniques, I guess, just to make it not look like spin art.
Right.
And it wasn't, I guess, hopefully I'm not jumping ahead. It wasn't until a year later, after producing some incredible works, I looked up, I Googled spin art.
Yeah.
In the if you look up the Wikipedia page, and they're
nothing goes wrong when you look up Wikipedia.
Well, before I looked it up, I had done this painting in all these colors, reds, yellows, blues, just mucked together.
Yeah.
It just looked so horrible. And I took a wide brush and figured, this canvas was expensive. I got to reuse it. So I gave the table a whirl and just took the brush from the center and moved it out and wiped off most of the paint.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it was still there, but it was all faded together and just looked so soft.
Oh, you kind of create a gradient that way, right?
Yes. Yeah. And my mind was blown. It was so beautiful and soft. It wasn't, sprayed out, but it was done, with a revolving easel.
Right.
And that's when, I had looked up Wikipedia's spin art. In the profile picture they use is that of which I had gotten that I thought was disgusting and horrible. And I'm like, they're using that? I mean, but I don't know. It's just right out of the gate, I wanted to make sure it was different.
Yeah.
And like if you look up spin art now, I think there's one artist out there that's really doing something wonderful with spin art, and he calls it spin art. I call mine revolution art.
Right.
Just a spin on the word spin. But it's all the same. It's all the
So is the major difference between traditional spin art and revolution art, is it the way that you're manipulating the paint as it's spinning?
Yeah.
Or is it something that you're doing after the paint has been applied? Like, do you do the manipulation of the paint as it's turning?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely it's a little bit of both, I think.
Okay.
It's like before, like I got to figure out where I want to put the paint and what it's going to do. They're all like fingerprints.
Okay.
They're all different. I mean, I don't take notes in the studio, so I can't remember how I did this last one, how I did, I want to do that same thing but different colors. It doesn't work for me that way.
Right.
So each one
It sounds like the way I cook dinner, right? If the kids are always saying, I'm not going to eat that, I've had it before. I was like, no, you haven't, because I don't ever use this. I don't know what I did last time.
That's exactly how it is. So that just, I think, I like that because each one, it definitely gives it a complete different look from the last one. But yeah, I'm constantly, do I want to manipulate it before I put the paint on? Do I want to manipulate it after I put the paint on? And do I want to manipulate it while the table's standing still, while it's revolving?
Right.
There's so many different. I think that's why each one takes so long. Because
how long does a typical painting take for you these days?
Well, these newer ones I've been working on the past maybe 1.5 to 2 years have been taking. Each one has been taking at least 4 to 8 hours. Whereas early in my doing this, I could pump out probably 4 to 6 in a day.
Yeah.
And they were very one-dimensional, very flat. Once I saw something that looked great, I stopped and took it off and dried it. And I've since gone back to those canvases that haven't sold and just sanded them down, primed over them, and
Oh, so now they're new works of art.
Yes, because what I've been doing recently, I've just raised the bar so high that
What was the catalyst for you? At what point in your work process did you notice you had reached a new threshold, or you crossed into a new area for yourself where you were just the old stuff isn't going to cut it anymore, and you found something new to do? What was that?
Well, the first year that I was experimenting with some crazy stuff, those are some of my favorites. And then it got to a point, again, where I was just pumping them out to make money. And they were selling like hotcakes. You know, these 16 by 20 size, $20. Everyone's got $20 in their pocket.
Right.
Here, $20, I'll take it. Here's your painting.
Sure.
But then I did this one piece that did it. It literally, I had to step back, and I just couldn't believe I did that.
Yeah.
And I looked at it. It just looked so breathtaking. And I'm like, wow, that's different. And you know, and I posted a picture on social media, and people just, how much is it? How much is it? I want it. Is it for sale? How much? And I'm like, no, I don't want to sell it. I want that one for myself. And a lot of people talked me, you know, through it, and I ended up selling it to a wonderful gal up in Poughkeepsie, New York, and it broke my heart. But from that point on, everyone after that, I needed to replicate that one.
What was it about that painting that made it so different and so special? Was it a different method you used? A different, like, was it looked different than your previous stuff? What was it that really stood out to you about it?
Well, it almost had a three-dimensional effect to it. It was, I don't know, the paint did something it's never done before, and it almost looked like it had, like I said, three-dimensional effect. It had, I don't know, there's a circular area of maroon or fuchsia, and then outside of that, it was like this brilliant blue with some white, and it just so soft and feathery. It almost looked like clouds. And I have no idea how I did it. I don't know how it happened. I couldn't. Again, from the next one I did, I'm sure I tried to replicate that again, and it didn't happen.
Couldn't do it, huh?
No.
So is everything you do now a matter of trying to get that back?
No,
okay.
no, absolutely not. I definitely, but that is the one, you know, the blueprint that all these newer paintings now have come from. And
so it's like marking time for you. Everything, it's pre this painting,
yes,
and post this painting.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay,
yes.
And what's the experience for you now when you're painting after having crossed over that threshold into this next phase as a revolution artist?
The ceilings are too low here because with each one that I do, you know, I jump around and I almost hit the ceiling, and I knock things over, and I run around the studio, I run outside, I run through the yard like, holy crap, I cannot believe I just painted this. And I mean, I can probably walk you through some of the ones that are just I don't know, it's a personal thing, you know, for me, that I created this, and I found my niche. I found what I'm great at. You know, whether, you know, I mean, again, it's all subjectional whether I'm a great artist or not, but I'm so happy with what I'm doing.
Well, I mean, that regardless whether you're an artist or a fry cook or whatever. I mean, if you get to that point where you find something that you feel very genuinely excited about, happy about, that kind of, I don't want to say completes you, but you know what I mean? Like, if you get to that point, that's got to be exciting. That's got to be just feel amazing.
I feel like I'm the greatest human on earth.
And you started just trying to do this to make money.
Yeah.
Sounds like that stopped.
That's all out the window because, I mean, like I said, I have a day job, so I don't need to sell these. But when I post them on my social media, and people just go crazy over them, and it makes me feel good. It makes me feel great that they how much for that one? How much, I want to buy that one, or sold. They'll put sold. I want it, and I'm like, can you give me about 6 months with it, so I can nurture it.
Let me raise my baby before I send it into the world.
They're like my children.
Yeah,
it's tough, but I've learned that there's such an honor when somebody wants to own something I created
Yeah.
with just, paints and brushes and a canvas.
Well, I mean, it sounds like it's more than just paints and brushes and canvas, because it sounds like for you this is a very physical activity, a very active process.
Yes,
I mean, you're physically spinning this contraption that you've built. You just said you're jumping and dancing around. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you pretty much turn this place into a concert venue when you're painting, right? I know music is something that's very important to you when you're painting. What is that like? I mean, do you just think, here's the music I want to listen to right now, and let's see what happens while I'm painting?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
That's one of the. I joke around saying that the most difficult thing in the studio is like whether do I choose beer or whiskey when I paint, but really it's the music. What music do I want to listen to while I paint? And I've chosen some like the Clash just doesn't work for me. I love the Clash, but it doesn't work when I paint. I need a more ethereal type of, like a Joe Satriani or a Jimi Hendrix or a Rush, or even I don't know. Let's see.
Looking around at paintings to see what happened.
Peter
right?
Gabriel, or just I need something that has a lot of music. I'll put on an artist or a band. I'll put their entire catalog on shuffle and just go to town. And I just listen to the music. I don't try to paint to make it look like the music. I just listen to the music. I'm painting, and like I'll throw down gallons of paint in the first hour, and you'll never see those colors ever, at the finished product.
Mm-hmm.
But the music, as it's going, and I don't know. People actually say, so what kind of drugs are you using when you're painting? I'm like, well, actually, I don't. It's either, beer or whiskey, or just the music.
Yeah.
I just feel so like I'm on another plane, and I get drawn. The music is just, I've told people before where I'll lay here for an hour while the music is playing before I even start painting, or I'll have it's playing for about an hour. So while I'm choosing the colors, while I'm getting my brushes ready, and the music is, I've tried doing it without music. Like when we first moved into this new place, I didn't have the stereo set up yet. And I'm like, but I want to paint. Yeah. And it just wasn't working.
No, just nothing.
Nothing.
Wow.
Wasn't working.
Now, have you found that there's an impact on the finished product based on the music you've been listening to, like a color palette or the painting that you produce? Is it impacted by the music you're listening to?
Yes. And I think there's one. Well, actually, oh gosh, I can go through all of them. But there's one, it's got this purple base coat. It's very simple. It's a purple base coat. And I put this ring of white paint while the table was revolving. And unbeknownst to me how it did this, but the white paint mixing with the purple almost looked like very lacy. Just this ring of lace. And it just had Jimi Hendrix written all over it. It was just, then I added this orange and I can't remember, orange and something, but it just screams Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
And then I was listening to Rush, and this one painting I was working on, usually they take, like I said, 6 to 8 hours, 4 to 8 hours. I think I dropped some red, 2 different shades of red, and then I put some white, and the white ran out so symmetrically perfect. And I'm like, wow, this is done. And the last song playing was One Little Victory. And I just thought, like, wow, that's the title of the painting.
Yeah.
And
So I mean, that's how you title your pieces, is based on the music you're listening to?
Usually it's the last song playing when I'm signing that painting, or when I just said, wow, that's done.
Right.
And I all right, that's the song that's playing. This is the title. Unless it's like, some kind of a stupid title, I'll pick one that was playing
Sure.
while I was painting. Before I had this sound system set up in this place, I was listening to Apple Music in album by album, and I had done I was painting to Neil Young, which I usually don't ever paint to Neil Young, although I love Neil Young. But I listened to his one record, and that painting was titled after the album. It was titled La Noise.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's definitely music related in the titles.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I just the title of your pieces kind of give you an insight into what your mood was while you're while you're creating that piece. Then.
If someone knows the music, if someone knows the band, or it definitely.
Is there one band that you'll paint to more often than others, or is it just like on shuffle all the time?
Well, like I said, I don't put them all the music on shuffle.
Right.
I put one artist on shuffle, but yeah, I try not to. Like if I have a Jimi Hendrix painting, I want to listen to something different. I don't want to have like a bunch of Jimi Hendrix paintings. And right now, I'm like, wow, who do I want to listen to? So I thought about maybe listening to some new 80s new wave, like New Order or The Fix or Depeche Mode. And I'm like, I started listening to, picking some of the music. I'm like, oh man, I don't know if this synthesizer stuff is, I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah.
So I think I chose Gene Loves Jezebel. It's one of my favorites.
Okay.
And then I went off that 80s thing and did yesterday I worked to a band called The Music, and I got two totally different paintings. And
can you feel the difference while you're doing it?
I think I think I can. I don't try to. I don't want to. But when I was finishing up this painting yesterday by a band called The Music, this painting just had it was raining yesterday morning, and I don't know. I just the painting looked very tranquil. It looked very, I don't know, wet. It looked turquoisey and green. And the last song playing was a song called Rain Dance. I'm like, there it is. This is called Rain Dance.
Yeah.
So
when you go back, or if you go back and look through your previous pieces,
which I do often,
I'll bet. I mean, it's got to be almost like a personal journal for yourself, right? Like,
I think this August will be, 2012. August 2012. I don't know. I failed math. So.
Carry the 3.
7?
I don't know.
6 or 7 years.
Right. But when you go back and you look at them, are you reminded of a way you were feeling at the time? Can you identify them that way? Or is it just sort of, you're just looking at an evolutionary development of your work?
Yeah, it's definitely an evolutionary.
Okay.
I call it the evolution of the revolution.
Perfect.
I did an artist talk in mid-May for the East Hampton Art Association, and I basically I brought a bunch of paintings. I brought the first 2 that I worked on, which I still have, and then I brought a couple others, some experimental ones, and then like kind of an evolution. And that's kind of how I did this talk. I didn't know how to do an artist talk, but I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do an evolution.
Yeah.
This is.
What was the feedback that you got? Like, what was the response to your stuff?
Well, let me tell you, I was nervous.
Yeah.
Because no offense if anyone here is listening, but I was told you got to get in with this East Hampton Art Association, which I've tried art associations in other towns, and it was a bunch. They were mainly consist of a bunch of older folks.
Sure.
A lot of scenery paintings, a lot of marshes, a lot of beaches, a lot of floral paintings, and I thought, wow, they're not gonna. This is a little
wrong crowd, right?
Right. Yeah. So, but they really want. They said you got it. They need new stuff. They need to see this.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, and I thought I was just gonna cut my own head off. So I had them lined up, and I finished telling my story.
Yeah.
And as I was telling it, a lot of the folks were just kind of staring.
Sure.
But there were a few questions, real interesting questions, and but then when I was done, they all kind of came over, and I like this one. Oh, this is great. Now, how did you do a lot of?
Right.
I'm like, I almost couldn't answer them. I didn't know how. I wasn't expecting.
I already told my story.
I don't know what else to say.
Right.
All questions in writing.
Yeah.
But it was great. I was relieved. I remember because of course while it was happening, I went blank. But my wife came over and she said, "Wow, you did great. That was awesome. They loved it."
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
Now you've got a show coming up.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So what's that going to be like for you? Is this your first gallery? Gallery of your own, I guess.
Gosh. I guess so. I want to say yes, because a lot of the places I've exhibited my work were mainly coffee house galleries. Mm-hmm. Coffee shops that exhibit artwork. And I liked it because they got a lot of foot traffic.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Sacrosanct Gallery in East Hampton on Main Street. I saw an article in the paper that there's an art gallery opening. I'm like, wow, right in town. This is great. I can help get behind it and support it. And I was so excited. So I messaged Shauna Lang, just to say, hey, congrats. I'm looking forward to, supporting what you're doing and getting behind what you're doing. This is great.
Yeah.
Not looking to get in with a show.
Right.
But just it's it's walking distance. This is great. So she got right back to me and said, how many pieces do you have? Do you have enough to hang right away? I'm like, whoa. Well, again, I wasn't trying to sneak myself in.
Yeah.
I was like, no, but yeah, I have plenty. And she's like, all right, great. How about July? Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm excited, and she's excited about my artwork, because now I'll talk about art galleries. A lot of galleries, unless you're a member, they don't care about your work.
Right.
But once you give them that yearly deposit, they love your work. And it's like, gosh. So she loved my work right away, and that was nice. That felt really wonderful, that an art gallery that really loves the artist and promotes the artist. And,
right.
And she's digging it.
Do you know about how many pieces you're going to have hanging there?
Well, every time I stop in, I try to gauge on how many I can hang. And I think last time I was there, I think I thought maybe 20, maybe 20. So
that's pretty good size. Good size gallery.
Yeah, it could be between 15 and 20.
Yeah, I mean, you have sizes ranging from 16 by 20 up to is it 36 by 36?
36 by 36. Those are the ones I have. I've done 5 foot by 6 foot, I think.
Wow.
But I do have a few bigger pieces here that I hope can fit. But the main core is the 16 by 20s.
What's the gallery date for you? Is it the entire month of July?
Yes, it's I think July 3rd. I could be wrong, but it's July, the whole month of July. And I think there's going to be an artist reception near the end of July, like a closing reception. Right. So.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm just it's great.
So for people who can't make it to the gallery, there probably won't be any. I think everyone will be there. But if anybody can't, where can they see your work? Where can they find the stuff that you're doing?
I don't have a website other than my Facebook page for not my personal page, but the Spinning Head Studio on Facebook.
Okay.
So yeah.
What about, like Instagram or anything?
I have my own personal Instagram. Okay. They can look Andrew Wallach up, but I'm not computer literate, so I think I just found out that I could do one from my Spinning Head Studio. Yeah. I think so. I might look into that.
Okay.
For now,
so Spinning Head Studio on Facebook.
Yes.
You see all of your existing pieces, not all, but a lot of your existing pieces.
Pretty much everything.
And keep up with what you're doing new too on
Oh,
there,
yes.
right? Yeah.
Just nude?
New.
Yes.
I will work on my enunciation.
No, actually, I heard, just being crass.
Are you doing nude revolution art?
I did it once.
Okay.
And, well...
That is against the Facebook terms and policies, I believe, so you can't put that up.
Right. Well, it's just that there's a danger to the table
the
spinning
mechanism,
at
right.
waist level.
So one question that I have to ask, because it would be irresponsible of me not to, have you ever painted to the song "You Spin Me Round"?
No, I have not. No.
Is that intentional? Have you ignored that song on purpose?
Well, I grew up in the 80s.
Uh-huh.
I was a fan of the new wave, the punk movement, the new wave movement. But I think I wouldn't be embarrassed to say yes, I would do that. I would.
Okay.
I would.
Perfect.
Yeah.
This was great.
Oh,
Thank you so much for talking with me.
This was fun.
All right. Another huge thank you to Andrew for taking the time to speak with me, and actually for the amazing piece of art that now hangs in my home. A few days after we recorded, I had an occasion to acquire an original Andrew Wallach piece, and I jumped at the chance. If you'd like to make your own opportunity to see his work, be sure to stop into Sacrosanct Gallery in East Hampton, Connecticut during the month of July. Andrew's work will be hung throughout the space. So check out Sacrosanct on Facebook for gallery hours and more information. You can also see Spinning Head Studio on Facebook to see all the new pieces as they become available, and to see what Andrew is listening to in the studio. If you're not already a subscriber to Table to Stage, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on your podcast player. It's free, and you'll be sure to get all the new episodes as they drop. And again, if you'd like to support the show, there's no better way than to leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, or wherever you listen. That is it for now. Until next time, keep creating.